Just when we thought this roster could not get more loaded, the Wildcats add a national champion to their backcourt.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be discussing Kentucky basketball's latest commitment. Kind of feels like we were blindsided by this. It kind of feels like that's how this staff has moved with their last several commitments. Florida Gators guard Denzel Aberdeen has committed to Mark Pope and the Cats. What do we know about him? How will he fit within this system? Super fired up about this pick. Could not be. I think if you're looking for positional versatility and a solid defender, and you're looking for somebody that's going to play that backup guard role, could not have asked for a better player. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're watching here live on YouTube, really appreciate everybody already here in the YouTube live chat. If you've not already subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, if you're listening to this in the postcast on the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Sound off. Let me know what you think about this commitment in the comments. Holy cow, just when you thought that this backcourt could not be more loaded, the Wildcats go and add a national champion to the fold. Denzel Aberdeen spent the last 3 seasons of college ball with the Florida Gators. This past season, averaged 7.7 points per game, shot 35% from 3, also averaged 1.7 rebounds and 1.4 assists per game, and 19.8 minutes per contest. I need people to understand, looking at this kid's statistics, you're not going to be blown out of the water by the efficiency, right? It's, I think, statistically average efficiency. 42 from the floor, 35 from 3. He's shooting 71% from the line. There's nothing that stands out statistically to you. You have to go and watch this kid's tape. This kid is a legitimate ball player at 6'5", listed at 6'6" at some places. This is a legitimate combo guard that can go out there and score in a variety of ways, most notably in spot-up situations. He's a really good catch-and-shoot guy. I believe he's like 76th percentile of catch-and-shoot shooters, but he's in the 90th percentile of spot-up scorers. He's very effective in that spot, and of course, Kentucky, I think, will give him those opportunities to kind of score and be an effective player off the bench. But here's the kicker for me. And this is kind of the stat that you have to go and find. And I saw someone tweet this out. Some Twitter account tweeted this out right before I went live, and I had already kind of had this pulled up. When Elijah Martin was out, one of the starting guards for Florida, Denzel Aberdeen had to come in. He was averaging 14 points per game and shot 41% from 3 when he started, while Martin was out for a stretch of games with an injury. That's what that Twitter user said, and I can confirm. That's what he averaged, 41% from 3. So he is a legitimate shooter. He's a guy that can go out there and get you buckets in spot-up situations if you want to get him in transition, where he's not the most effective. If you want to get him in the half court, where he is significantly more effective, you can get him in a variety of ways. ISO, spot up, off the dribble. Again, not the most impressive efficiency-wise, but we've seen through this past year's roster, Mark Pope can essentially turn any sort of player into a stud when it comes to efficiency. They don't have to be a volume scoring guy. They don't have to be somebody that has a great shot form. They don't have to be somebody that can really create their own shot. Mark Pope's going to make them look good. This kid can create his own shot. He can do things on his own. But I think surrounding him with this incredible roster now, I think he's going to look even better. On top of that, he's like plus 2.1 in defensive box plus minus, which is not the best in the world, but it means he's a plus defender, something I think Kentucky would absolutely love to have 1 through 3, and that's kind of where I want to take this conversation. It's the most interesting thing to me about how he was utilized on this Florida Gators roster this past season. Obviously, again, as a backup guard, one of the primary guys that came off the bench in a very tight rotation, I would say, for Florida, especially later on in the season. No duh. That's kind of how most teams do it. Aberdeen, here's the interesting part. Aberdeen, over his final 5 games with the Gators, spent 17% of his minutes at the 3, 14% at the 2, 12% at the 1. He went 1 through 3 in a pretty balanced way. And when you go and actually watch this kid play, with his ability to play make, with his ability to handle the ball, you can put him in PNR situations, you can put him off ball at small forward. This kid really did a lot for the Gators coming off the bench. He can handle any situation 1 through 3. That has to excite you if you're a Kentucky fan, because what have we been asking for? We've been asking for a depth piece behind somebody like Jalen Lowe. You've been asking for more depth and experience behind somebody like Otega Owe. Some of you are not as fired up about Colin Chandler as maybe I am and some other people. I think Colin Chandler alongside Aberdeen is going to be great. Some of you are maybe a little bit concerned about, well, can Jasper handle the load at shooting guard? Well, guess what? You got a national champion to run right alongside him. This is perfect, and he's got the size too. At 6'6", 6'5", 200 pounds. This is perfect. And I'm really appreciative of somebody in the chat. I actually meant to make a comment about this. We were going to talk about this later on in the show. My assumption is that Rylan Griffin, the wing for the Kansas Jayhawks, that had announced that he would be taking a visit to Kentucky on Tuesday. My assumption was that he was going to cancel his visit pretty quickly after this was announced. And of course, according to Travis Graff, he has in fact canceled his visit. I don't really know if you could have asked for better, guys. And I'm not going to lie. That's not me saying that this is a bad pickup. This is a very, very, very good pickup. You could not have really asked for better. A national champion that had been committed to a very good squad for 3 straight seasons. You don't really see that often nowadays in college basketball. You got a kid that's got SEC experience through and through, has been through some very tough games in this conference, and has been very successful, especially when he's been asked to step up. I don't really know if you could have asked for better. I don't really know if you could have asked for better than Denzel Aberdeen. I will point out he played as number 11. I'll be curious to see what number he switches to, because by golly, that's Travis Berry's number. Maybe Travis gives it up. Who knows? But I would assume that he'd be switching to something. I mean, he might go back to 10. I think that's what he initially was during his time at Florida. Again, appreciate everybody in the live chat. There's like 400 people in here. If you've got any questions or comments, I will try and get to them here as we wade through yet another commitment for Kentucky basketball in their incredibly stacked roster. Before we continue along here, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Supply House. You can get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades, and that's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Literally thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. You can join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's all over at supplyhouse.com. All right, continuing along here on the Monday edition of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. I was going to record earlier this morning and kind of talk about where Kentucky stood with Aberdeen, kind of talk about my thoughts on him, how we fit into this team. I was literally watching his tape earlier this morning thinking, like, hey, this actually be a pretty good pickup. And then he commits without even taking a visit. Sometimes this staff, man, they move in silence, and I know there's been a lot of conversation about whether or not they were able to pick up steam early in the transfer portal cycle, about people freaking out for the first couple of weeks, and here we are with a loaded roster and what, in my opinion, is the best roster in America heading into the 25-26 college basketball season. I know some people may disagree with that. Some people may say it's Purdue, it's Louisville, it's Arkansas, it's whoever you think it is. Reality is that Kentucky, a team that made the Sweet 16 a season ago, has now either dramatically improved or solidly improved in every single area of weakness. Defense, physicality, rebounding, star power. They've got it all. They have all of it now. And I think they're going to be primed to make a legitimate run at a national championship in Mark Pope's second season. Now, of course, we don't know how injuries could play out. That's been a factor for Kentucky for several years now. Been so frustrating, a monkey on our back that we can't quite seem to throw off. We can't account for that. We can't account for the ups and downs of the season. But what I can tell you is on paper, with a guy like Denzel Aberdeen now in your backcourt, this is an incredibly stacked team, even more so now. So we'll take a look at the live chat here on YouTube. Again, I really appreciate everybody watching this live here on the Locked On Kentucky YouTube channel. We'll start here with Great Kentuckian, who makes an excellent point, longtime listener of the show. All eyes are on Otega Dawe. You need Otega back on this roster in order to make all things really start to come together and fire on all cylinders. This was the leading scorer on this team a season ago, somebody that could play a little bit of bully ball, get inside, get to the rim, was heroic at various points late in the season, obviously. In 2 different games against the Sooners, you need him to come back onto this roster because you cannot just rely on the newcomers to be the tone setters. You can't just rely on those guys to come in and immediately establish themselves as the go-to physical bully ball type guys at the rim. Get as many of those guys as you can into this offense that likes to shoot threes and likes to play with space and pace, and you're going to cause some problems for opposing defenses here in the SEC. I guarantee you Kentucky is going to be a problem on offense this year. They may not be as elite shooting the basketball, but look, if you want to go look at Mark Pope's previous BYU squads, they were still shooting like 35, 36% from three, sometimes even worse than that, and they still had one of the best offenses in the nation. Pair that with the ability to offensive rebound and the ability to shoot even better at the rim than you did a season ago. Guys like Dawe, I think, will take this team to the moon if they're able to stay healthy. Chemistry-wise, we'll have to see how it all plays out, but on paper, somebody like Aberdeen absolutely raises your ceiling here. And to get a guy like Dawe back, I think it goes even higher. Let's see here. David C. says, Dawe projected second round comeback for a better check. I could not agree more. Luke Newman says, every former Kentucky player who played for Kentucky are in the transfer portal again except for DJ Wagner. Hey, credit to Wagner, by the way, sticking it out with his coach. I do want to pause here for a second because I was going to talk about this at some point. Wagner caught a lot of flack at Kentucky, from me included, for some of his struggles at point guard as a freshman. That kind of stuff happens, and I really do think the fact that he has shown the willingness to stick it out with Coach Cal, to follow him to Arkansas, to now spend a 3rd season in college basketball underneath his wing, I hope nothing but the best for Wagner, as well as Thiero, who is also recently declared for the NBA draft. Pause here for a second, as I have I've got a little bit of a dry throat, and then also I was in the middle of making lunch whenever this all happened, so I've got some food waiting on me here. Whenever we head out in this live stream, we'll continue to look at the live chat here. The Nolo Huddle Podcast says, because it's tough in the SEC as a freshman. Yes, very much so. AFIO says, wow, this came out of nowhere and happened super fast. I just heard him suggest it this morning. You saw over the weekend, I can't remember if it was David Sisk or whoever it was on social media saying, like, hey, Denzel Aberdeen's into the portal. Kentucky could be in contact with him. And I didn't really take it seriously because I hadn't actually gone and read the report that Sisk had put out. I also hadn't heard anything from Jacob Polacek, which is phenomenal work over at KSR. I'd kind of sat on it and was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do Monday? I'm going to talk about Griffin. I'm going to talk a little bit about this kid. But I was going to talk in more in depth about how Griffin fits into this roster because he would have been another great pickup as well. Aberdeen, though, kind of just out of nowhere. Like, hey, I would have expected him at the very least to take a visit later this week before committing. I don't know what the staff told him. I don't know what they offered him. But it had to have been pretty dang good. I can imagine. Let's see here. King Dirk says this team is deep. I absolutely 100% agree. I need to go pull this back up actually real quick. This was a tweet here from Aaron Gershon, friend of the program here, about 20 minutes ago, saying, assuming Dawe returns, here is your Kentucky roster for the 25-26 season. At point guard, you have Jalen Lowe. At combo guard, you have Aberdeen, Jasper Johnson, Colin Chandler, and Travis Perry. The positional versatility is something that I adore. At shooting guard, you have Otega Dawe. At small forward, you have Cam Williams and Trent Noah. At power forward, you have Mohamed Diabate and Andrea Yelovich. And then at center, you have Jaden Quaintance, Brandon Garrison, at Malachi Marino. It's a stacked front court with some legitimate size and height, 1 through 3. If you can get your small forward position to pan out, if you can get it to work, whether it is Otega Owe at the 3 or it's Cam actually getting his shot there at 6'8", to pair with Diabate, who's 6'8", to pair with Quaintance, who's one of the best defenders in the country. I mean, goodness, guys. I don't know how you can't look at this on paper and say, you got your distributor at point guard, you got your guy that's going to run the machine, you've got 4 different options at combo guard to spread 1 through 3 technically. You can put Colin Chandler all the way down to 3 if you want to. You got a great NBA upside talent in Cam Williams, who shot the 3 very well at Tulane. You got Trent Noah, who's expected to take a leap, backing him up with some size. You got Muhammad Diabate, the king of SEC bully ball this past season. Yelovich, a unicorn out of Europe. Quaintance, the best defender in the nation a season ago. At least it felt like it at times. Brandon Garrison, who is coming into his second year in this system, who played very well behind Amari Williams. Inconsistent, but well overall. I wanted him back very much so. And then Marino, a 5-star center from the state of Kentucky. It's a preseason top 5 team. In my opinion, they're a preseason top 3 team, and they're not 3, and they're not number 2. This is a good team, man. This is a stacked team. We'll continue to break this down, get a little bit more in depth here to the live chat. Apologies if I've missed some questions here. We'll get to those in just a second. Before I do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing, and I mean nothing, like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. The aura. You've guys seen the tweets recently about how we want to bring that back. OKC absolutely showcased that in their drubbing of the Memphis Grizzlies. Hey, if you're an OKC fan, if you're a Hawks fan, if you're a Bulls fan, if you're a Cavs fan, whatever you are. I used to be a Mavs fan. Not so much anymore, but every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge for your team. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. The prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and the last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. You can take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time by downloading the Game Time app, creating an account, and using code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. It's the only place you ever need to get tickets, even if it's not for a sporting event. It's also concerts, comedy, theater near you. Terms apply. You can create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, continuing along here on the Monday live stream of Locked On Kentucky. We'll get to the live chat here. Doyle says, do you think Perry or Noah should redshirt this year? I don't know if redshirting is necessarily a wise option, especially considering you've got 15 scholarships to dole out. I think you're fine, but they're probably going to be not buried in this rotation, but pushed back in this rotation, which I think at the end of the day is probably a pretty good thing for this Kentucky roster to know that, hey, look, we've got these young, talented guys that can shoot the lights out of the ball, waiting in the wings. If injuries happen, they will step up and they will perform like they did late in the season, especially Noah, especially Chandler. But we don't have to worry that if one guy goes down, then we're thin. Then we have to really consider foul trouble more. We have to consider what Perry does defensively. We have to consider all these different things. We've got guys that can swap through various positions, and we've got depth now. I think that's the most exciting thing you can look at this roster and say is like, look, they've solved their issues from a season ago, and they've got legitimate depth top to bottom. Zach Clark, we should be a top 5 team in my opinion. I agree. Should Pope redshirt Jasper? No, I don't think they should redshirt Jasper because of how much run I think he's going to get at the 2. I think he's going to be a legitimate scoring threat coming off the bench. Who knows? He may start. You put Owe at the 3, he may start. Aberdeen may come off the bench. At this point, I don't know how Kentucky's going to structure this 1 through 5. There is so much positional versatility throughout all of this entire rotation that I don't really know how Kentucky's going to do it. I think Lowe is the clear-cut 1. I think Quaintance is a clear-cut, I can't even say that. Marino is a clear-cut 5. Outside of that, I don't really know what Kentucky's going to do. And I think that makes it super fun having conversations heading into the offseason of, look, you can put this guy at the 1, you can put up at the 2, you can put him at the 3. That's exactly what Aberdeen's going to bring you. We just started the show talking about that. He literally was almost perfectly balanced, as all things should be, between the 1 and the 3 there towards the end of the season for Florida. When they needed him to step up, they utilized him at every single spot, point guard, shooting guard, small forward, that he could possibly be utilized, and he performed. I don't know how you could be upset about that. This is a great pickup. Forget the shooting stats. Forget, hey, look, he, in Martin's place, shot 41% from three whenever he had to start over Martin whenever he was injured. Forget all the stats, good and bad. It's a 6'5" wing type that can play point guard and did so on a national championship team. Awesome. Cannot wait to see him in blue and white here in Lexington. I actually got, I won't read the text. It's 2 words. That I got from Brandon Olson, the host of Locked On Gators, whenever the news was announced. I can't read it, but it was just a kind congratulations, I'll say that, from Brandon Olson, the host of Locked On Gators. Let's see here. Triangle offense with the 3 bigs. Goodness gracious, I can only imagine the horrors that would come out of this fan base online if we started running the triangle. I think that would be funny. Let's see. Luke Newman says, I think Pope will have Quaintance shoot threes like Garrison will shoot threes. So Quaintance took some in his freshman year. He just can't hit. He's not a good shooter off the dribble or just period from anywhere outside of the paint. He just really is not. But Garrison, man, if he can shoot threes like he did last season at like a 33+% clip, you put him at the 4 in a lot of rotations. I mean, why wouldn't you? You've got the defense, you've got the versatility, and you've got the outside shooting. Put him at the 4 and let him be a catch-and-shoot guy. Abso-freaking-lutely. Why did Aberdeen leave Florida? Was it playing time, says Heeman? I actually don't know, and that's something I was going to try and learn a little bit more about before I went live, or before I recorded later today about Aberdeen. I didn't have time to get the answer there for you, and I'm assuming it had to do something with playtime. It could not have been NIL related. I don't think he's a senior on a national championship squad that's going to play even more, I would assume, in his senior year. I don't know. Let's see here. What's the talent they have now? What's the talent they have now? You let them determine playing time and practice. Yes, you will learn a lot about this team from insiders like Polachek, like Gershon, like anybody at KSR or Rivals or 24/7 Sports. You're going to learn a lot about this team from the guys that get to go behind the scenes while they practice as the year goes on. Whenever they get into practices later this year, you're going to see videos clipped. You're going to see guys in blue and white jerseys. You're going to be able to say, hey, those guys are the ones and those are the twos. You're going to learn a lot about how Kentucky's going to want to do this rotationally, and it's going to spark a lot of conversation here on the show as to what mixes and matches well on paper and what doesn't. And honestly, you can't really get a definitive answer on that until they actually run out into the court 1 through 5 and play. But yeah, this is going to be an incredibly interesting offseason because on paper they're stacked. How they end up putting it together, I think, could prove to show what their ceiling actually is. There was a lot of frustration at various points during SEC play about how Mark Pope ran his rotation, about how he would sub guys in and out like this and that, trying to keep guys fresh. One of 2 things is going to happen this season with guys like Aberdeen on the roster. Either that's not going to be a problem anymore because you're going to have more depth and you're not going to have to frantically sub guys in and out, and you're going to be able to kind of run things together and you're going to be fine. Run things longer, I should say. Or when you do sub guys in and out and it's hockey, you got a bunch of guys coming in and out at once, you're not going to have the fatigue. And you're not gonna look over and say, oh my goodness, we've got a guy coming in that can't play defense. Well, no, actually, we've got a couple guys coming off the bench that can play perfectly fine defense in the backcourt or the front court or protect the rim or rebound or what have you, right? There's not going to be a major concern whenever you get guys rotating in and out. Now, shooting might be at times, but man, I really don't think so, man. I really don't. This Pope offense proved last season that they could raise the efficiency levels of any guy that stepped out onto the court relative to their previous stop. I mean, Lamont Butler I continue to think back to how much better he was in his lone season at UK than any season at San Diego State. I mean, guys, it wasn't even close. And it's all about the system. It's all about the 5-out system that Mark Pope likes to run. It's going to make guys like Aberdeen look incredible. It's going to make them look really good. Let's see. Against UK, Aberdeen played 14 minutes and scored 4 points with 1 assist. The one game here, actually, I need to pull up. I'm assuming he didn't shoot very well then against Kentucky. No, he shot 2 of... Well, no, he shot 2 of 5. 2 of 3 from 2. 0 of 2 from beyond the arc. In just 14 minutes. Martin was cooking in that game, I will note. I mean, Martin was cooking. We don't have a Jackson Robinson type who can create his own shot. I would disagree with that on 2 fronts. Number one, I don't think Robinson was creating his own shot consistently at UK. Second of all, I think that Otega Owe is the perfect example of a guy that can create his own shot. Just getting to the rim. Get to the rim. I think somebody like Jalen Lowe can create an isolation, absolutely. I think somebody like Jasper certainly can. And look, with the way that this is run, with the way that the 5 kind of dictates things here for a large portion of the game, you don't really have to have guys that create their own shot a ton, but now you have more options, and that's the thing I'm more excited about. Let's see. Cam Williams could create shots. I will need to see it. I'll need to see it. We thinking JQ will sit until November. That's another factor here that I think we'll probably talk about is, look, you've got 3 different guys you could play at center, but JQ, arguably your best option there, might not be fully healthy until 3 or 4 games into the non-con slate. I mean, that might be the case. I'm not sitting here telling you it's going to be. Who knows? Who knows? Let's see. Can you imagine what practices will be like if they can play 5-on-5? It's gonna be tough. It's going to be a challenge for this coaching staff to kind of figure out what works well and what doesn't. I trust Pope. I trust guys like Fox and Fieger and Hart and Alvin Brooks, of course. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see how it all goes together. But man, they've got. I think the one thing that you can be excited about is if you're a Kentucky fan watching this right now, if there's something that you can be excited about, it's the fact that you have a roster with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You have a roster with 13 different players, healthy and available. 12. Forget JQ. You've got 12 that are fully available and fully healthy, and it's April 21st. You're not sitting here in mid-June freaking out about whether or not we're going to get a kid that would be the 9th man in our rotation, would be the 9th guy on the roster on scholarship. You've got 13. You don't have to freak out. How exciting is that you've got depth? And when you look at the actual players on paper, they're not just depth pieces. They're great. They're great players. Aberdeen is a great player. National championship backup guard caliber player. You take that in a heartbeat. Absolutely, you take that in a heartbeat. Everybody in the chat is asking about either Dawe Sarr or maybe somebody else overseas. And look, they could get somebody like Sarr. If they, I'll say this: if they add Sarr, I don't want to get ahead of myself. If they add Sarr, it's not natty or bust, but it's SEC title or bust. I would think, for sure. I mean, SEC championship 1,000%. Not championship, but like SEC title. If they got Sarr, I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they can add another player to this roster, and feel good about it. Well, I shouldn't say that. And it be like a significantly improving move, like somebody like Dawe. If they can, again, I would take this team in a heartbeat to win the SEC championship. Like, without a second thought. I don't care who else is across the board in this Southeastern Conference. I don't care what they've got. Auburn's brought in, two JUCO D2 players? Although I will say Elijah Freeman is a buckhead. I will say that. I won't disrespect Freeman like that. He's going to be good. But like, all of these other teams in the SEC are losing all of this talent because, newsflash, COVID scholarships are over, unless you're Chad Baker-Mazara, which, by the way, if you got him, I think that it's SEC title or bust. Would Sarr fit on the roster? I mean, fit, yes. It's just, I think it's unrealistic at this point that we get him. I think it's unrealistic at this point that we get anybody that significantly moves the needle. Because you're already so stacked. You're already stacked. I mean, this is like, it's like the Lakers in the offseason, all these Lakers fans like putting together like jersey, like edits for these players. Like, well, what if we traded or signed this guy? It's like, we don't have the cap space. We don't have the ability to trade for this guy. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, more likely than not, we're going to get like a rotational backup piece. We're going to get a D-Lo. We're going to get somebody like that. It's, I don't know. 3 separate platoons. Goodness gracious, I'll probably make that episode later this offseason. I don't think the SEC is going to be tough like it was this last season. I completely agree. I think it's still going to be tough. Best conference in America? Probably not again. If I had to bet, it's probably going to be the Big 12 again. Especially with Houston at top and teams like BYU just being like goated all of a sudden. I hope this doesn't mean Otega always not returning. I think he's going to be back. I mean, if you're a OA, I hope you're carefully evaluating your draft stock right now. I'll just say that. I hope you are carefully looking at that and thinking about how much money you could make at UK and what you could do with one more year with Pope, with this surrounding you. Because if you're the leading scorer on this team and you come back and this is what's surrounding you, if I'm him, I'm thinking I can only improve my stock. I can only make it better. Because everybody's going to make me look incredible. There's going to be so much attention drawn to all these guys. Let's see. Tennessee getting beer muscles after a mint committed. Dude, I don't know what the heck happened with that commitment. I sat here and told you guys every other live stream that I was off the Immense UK train for months. The fact that he ended up committing to Tennessee over Louisville, Duke, Arkansas, and Kentucky, and whoever else it was. An interesting decision, I'll say that. Interesting decision for him. I'll say that. So, all right, guys. I think that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, already 33 minutes in. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Denzel Aberdeen, officially a Kentucky Wildcat, a great pickup for Mark Pope in this backcourt. The versatility is out of this world, and the depth is also insane as well. We'll see how Kentucky handles it here. As we wade deeper into the offseason, can they take another player? We'll talk about that here as well on Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow the show over on Instagram as well. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And God bless. Crazy before even the afternoon. Oh, here's a national championship card. Have fun.